You guys have probably heard me say that I have dry skin, so I have a lot of personal knowledge in how to manage it, but I've also spoken to a lot of my followers via DM, and I've also seen the mistakes that people make when we shoot the skincare reaction videos. So today, we're gonna talk about the dry skin mistakes to avoid. Before I get started, this video is sponsored by SkinFix. You guys know I love this moisturizer. This is their triple lipid peptide cream, and it is one of the best moisturizers I have ever used. It's also perfect timing to get this because the Sephora Spring Savings event is happening right now. If you're not already a Sephora Beauty Insider, I highly encourage you to sign up. You get different levels of discount, so anywhere between 10 to 20% depending on the tier that you're in. That's Rouge, VIB, or Insider. You also get different levels of access during the savings events, so you want to make sure that you are signed up and that you are collecting all of your points and you are going up in your tier. So I'll leave a link below in the description box with all of the information so you can learn a lot more. All right, so first let's talk about dry skin, and that comes with first identifying dry skin. A lot of people don't realize when they have dry skin. Surprisingly, one of the easiest ways to know if you have dry skin is to just wash your face and then let it just air dry for a few minutes. And as your skin starts to dry down, does it feel like it is dry and tight and itchy, maybe uncomfortable? Does it get flaky? That means that you have dry skin. What a lot of people don't realize is that dry skin causes a damaged skin barrier. So the way to think about your skin barrier is that it's made of all these different lipids and fats and oils. And if you compare it to sort of like a brick wall, it has the bricks, but it also has that bond in between the bricks that keep them in place, but also create a seal so that you can't get anything through that brick wall. And it's kind of the same purpose that these fats and oils serve for your skin barrier. They make up that bond or that glue that's in between your skin cells. So if you have a healthy skin barrier, then you kind of have like a healthy brick wall. You have a very strong brick wall that's invincible. But if any of those lipids and fats go away, then that bond between the bricks goes away as well. So then you can get things through, right? Like you then get a skin barrier that is damaged. It's not as strong as it used to be. And you guys know when we talk about a damaged skin barrier, that leads to things like sensitivity and irritation and stuff. So you want to avoid the damaged skin barrier, but dry skin is essentially the cause of that. So there are definitely varying levels of dry skin from, just kind of dry to severely dry. But what everyone with dry skin has in common is that they need to replace those fats, lipids, and oils. There can be a lot of contributors to dry skin as well. So it can be anything like climate, environmental. So for instance, if you live in the desert, you might have dry skin just because of where you live and not because of any other reason. Genetics also plays a part. And then one of the biggest contributors is age. And that's always the one that's really sad to me because here I am, I'm aging, I'm about to be 40, and I can feel that my skin gets drier and drier each year. And that's because when we get older, we start to lose more lipids in our skin just naturally. By the time we're in our 30s, we can lose up to 40% of the lipids that we need for our skin. So think like ceramides, for instance. And then by the time we're in our 40s, you can lose up to 60% of the lipids that you have in your skin. It's really a sad thing. But the good news is you can replace it, and that leads to mistake number one, and that is using the wrong moisturizer. When it comes to finding the right moisturizer for dry skin, you first want to make sure that it's a rich enough moisturizer. So a lot of the time you'll see the word cream instead of like lotion or moisturizer. You actually might want to go for a creamy texture. That's one of the reasons why I love this one from SkinFix, because it is a nice, beautiful, rich cream. But really what it comes down to for your moisturizer is looking for the right ingredients for dry skin. A really good moisturizer for dry skin is going to have a combination of humectants like your glycerin and your hyaluronic acid, but then it's going to have those fats that you want to make sure that you're replacing. So we're talking about ceramides, which are fatty acids that are part of those building blocks for your skin. So again, think of that bond between the bricks. Ceramides are part of those fats and lipids that you want in your skin barrier. Another really great ingredient to look for is squalane. You hear me talk about this all the time. I love squalane. Squalane is great in different products because it's easily absorbed by the skin, and it's also just recognized by the skin. You've heard me talk about peptides and how much I love them. Peptides are really great because they offer anti-aging benefits, but they are also very hydrating to the skin. And then you also want to make sure that you're replacing those different lipids and fats in your skin. So not just the ceramides, but you want to make sure that you're replacing the different oils in your skin. So look for different plant-based plant-based butters like shea butter, there's cocoa butter, there are also the different oils like sunflower oil. Those are all really great in the different types of fatty acids and oils that you need in your skin, and they always work well when they are in a moisturizer together. And that's one of the reasons why I love the triple lipid peptide cream. It's amazing for people with dry skin because it contains a triple lipid complex that's great for replenishing those lipids that you lose in your skin. It also has a peptide protein blend, which again, I love my peptides. They're very, very hydrating for the skin. There's also sodium hyaluronate in here, so there's hyaluronic acid essentially, and it is just so hydrating and plumping for the skin. And then there's lily root extract in here, which really helps to tighten the skin, and truly it helps to prevent water loss. And that's one of the big things to keep in mind when you're using a moisturizer. Again, think of your dry skin as the cause for a damaged skin barrier. You want to make sure that you have a strong skin barrier. You want to have that nice tight brick wall because you don't want to lose your water. You want to retain that water, and that's called TOOL, transepidermal water loss. You don't want to lose too much water. I think there's like a normal level of water that you're constantly losing, but you don't want to lose too much because that's what's going to cause your dry skin. So you want to keep it nice and tight and keep it all packed in there. Besides looking for those perfect ingredients for your dry skin, some other stuff to keep in mind when you're looking for the right moisturizer is that you don't want to use the really light moisturizers. They might feel better on your skin, but if you truly have dry skin, then they might evaporate too quickly and not give you the benefits that you need, and that's truly locking in all of that hydration and moisture. Same goes with skipping moisturizer altogether. I can't imagine that somebody with dry skin would decide to skip their moisturizer, but I know that it happens, and that's partially because people with dry skin will sometimes use a lot of different serums, thinking that that's enough of the moisture that they need, but they're confusing that with hydration, and again, it just evaporates too quickly and it's not getting locked in. That leads also to the next mistake that I see people make, and it's sort of along these lines, and that's replacing your moisturizer with different oils, because this is something that I see a lot, especially with people who are aging. They think that all of these oils must be replacing that moisture and that hydration in their skin, but it's not the same thing. When you have dry skin, you can definitely add oils into your skincare routine. I tend to recommend topping all of your skincare products with an oil last because of the occlusiveness of it. That said, what people tend to think is that oil must be replacing that oil that is in your skin. And while there are definitely oils in moisturizers, even in this moisturizer, there's a blend of different oils in here and they're very necessary. The big difference is that there are other ingredients in here that are also hydrating and moisturizing your skin. Oils on their own are more like skin conditioners. That's the best way to think of them. They can be emollient or they can be occlusive, but they're really just sitting on top of your skin. And they can have lots of nutrients for your skin, that's true, but it doesn't mean that they are helping your skin barrier and solving that dryness. You need that combination and that blend of the humectants, the moisturizers, and then also the oils. But when you do have dry skin, you can for sure use oils as part of your skincare routine. What they do is they just sit on top of your skin essentially, and they can help retain that moisture. So it's really more like a added bonus for your skin when you're adding them into your skincare routine. But remember, you need to have that nice blend of the humectants, you need that hydration, you need the moisturizers. So we're talking about like the plant butters, for instance, blended with the different oils and stuff so that they are also moisturizing and locking everything in. And then you need the oil to really just condition your skin and provide one more layer of occlusiveness. But layering oil after oil after oil is not going to repair your dry skin. It's still going to be very dry underneath. Another mistake I see people with dry skin make is they either over cleanse their skin or they're using the wrong cleanser. So back in the day, as in like just last year, I used to tell people to avoid foamy cleansers, and that's more of like an old school way of thinking, and that's because foamy cleansers used to essentially mean that they were using harsher surfactants in them, and that foaminess and that lather used to be from these harsh surfactants. Specifically, the sodium lauryl sulfate, SLS, used to here to avoid that. It's so drying for the skin. And that's actually true. It can be a very drying surfactant for the skin, but that doesn't mean that you have to avoid it. I think what we're really starting to understand now with cleansers is that you just need to make sure that your cleanser not only has the surfactants, but it also has nourishing ingredients in it. So that can be a combination of your humectants. It can even be oils and lipids that help to replenish your skin if you have dry skin. And it can also be emollients like acetyl alcohol and also like caprylic triglyceride. You might see these in your different cleansers. You might even see your traditional humectants like glycerin or even hyaluronic acid. These are all nourishing and hydrating ingredients that help to counteract the drying effects of surfactants. If that's a little too much for you to look for those types of ingredients and figure out if you're getting this balanced kind of formula in your cleanser, the other thing is to look for keywords like gentle, hydrating, even pH balanced or pH neutral. You know, I think we focus too much on the pH level of cleansers because at the end of the day, when you wash your face and cleanse your face, you're supposed to technically balance your pH with all of the skincare products that you put on afterwards, so it shouldn't be the main thing that you focus on. But if you have really dry skin, then you know, sometimes it can be really important because your skin wants to be a little bit more acidic, and if you're using something that's got too low of a pH or even maybe too high of a pH, which I don't see too often, then you're not getting those balanced levels. The other thing that you hear me talk about sometimes is that I avoid cleansing my face in the morning, and I just essentially mean I avoid using a cleanser. So I don't put those surfactants on my skin because I don't want any of that stripping that you can potentially get from washing your face. That has truly been one of the best things that I've done for my skin over the past couple of years, is just skipping that morning cleanse when I feel like I don't need it. You guys also know that I'm a big fan of double cleansing the skin, and that's because it's just a really nice way to not strip your skin when you're trying to get off sunscreen and makeup and just anything that can be really hard to get off of your face. You don't end up stripping your skin because you use such a gentle method to cleanse it. Even though it's actually double cleansing, you're using cleanser twice. You're using one that's oil-based for the most part, and that tends to not be very stripping. In fact, it tends to be very nourishing for the skin. And then when your skin is nourished, when you go in with that typical type of cleanser, it's still not really stripping your skin, even if it is a stripping cleanser, because you already have that nourishment from the oil-based cleanser. The next mistake is not exfoliating right, and I decided to make that more all-encompassing because there are the people that just don't exfoliate, and that's a mistake, and then there are the people that over-exfoliate, and that's also a mistake when you have dry skin. That's just a mistake in general for everybody. So when you have dry skin, I personally think that it's important to exfoliate your skin very gently, and that's because you are getting that dull flakiness of the skin, and I find that if you use hydrating and moisturizing ingredients, it doesn't penetrate your skin well if you've got that flakiness on top. So you need to get rid of that and move it aside. On the flip side of that though, you don't want to over exfoliate because that can break down your skin barrier more and lead to even more dryness. So there really is this balance. That said, exfoliation is very, very personal because like I said in the beginning of this video, even the levels of dryness can be varying for every person. You can have severely dry skin or you can have just slightly dry skin. I like to think that I have slightly dry skin because I've really figured out my skincare routine. For instance, my skin tends to be more dry and it can get dry very quickly, but because I've figured out my skincare routine and I know my skin pretty well, I pretty much have balanced my skin with my skincare routine. So I know when I'm pushing my limits too much. And for me, I like to actually exfoliate on a daily basis, but that's because I use really gentle exfoliants for the most part. So I'm using my PHAs on a regular basis. Those are polyhydroxy acids. They're very hydrating for the skin and they just very gently exfoliate. I also love azelaic acid, which also is just a very, very mild exfoliant. So I'm getting this constant exfoliation on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And then I'll step it up once or twice a week to something that's gonna be a little bit stronger, like my serums and my toners that have my different AHAs, for instance, like glycolic acid and lactic acid. I love those types of exfoliants, the AHAs, because they're also very hydrating to the skin as well. And I tend to find that they work the best on dry skin. I also tend to avoid different types of scrubs. I don't completely avoid physical exfoliants, but I don't use them on a regular basis. I feel like people with dry skin are truly the people that are the most at risk of irritating their skin when it comes to the different scrubs that are out there. So we're the ones that need to be the most careful when it comes to these physical exfoliants. That said, I pull out a physical exfoliant once or twice a month and I tend to love those because it just gives me that slight polish that I need to my skin, and then I maintain the rest of it with all of my very gentle exfoliants. Another point about exfoliating, I tend to find that people don't realize they're exfoliating their skin. Aha! That's also a thing. You want to make sure you understand what ingredients you're using. I don't think you should be judging a product on how good it is by their ingredient list, but one of the main reasons to look at the ingredient list is to just know what ingredients you are using in your skincare routine. That also means not doubling up or tripling up on these, really strong exfoliants. Another mistake that we tend to make when we have dry skin, and just in general, but people with dry skin, this affects you so much more, and that is washing your face with really hot water or washing your face in a shower with really hot water. You guys have heard me say this, I wash my face in the shower at night. I like to do that a lot of the time. The way that I get around it is I don't use scalding hot water. And I know that people do. I see my husband do this all the time. The amount of arguments that we've got into when I have like walked into the bathroom while he's showering to just see like the amount of steam in there, and then I've like touched the water and felt how hot it is. I don't even understand why he thinks that's so comfortable, but I know a lot of people love a really hot shower, and I can understand how that feels really good. I enjoy like a jacuzzi, for instance, and I know that that is very drying for the skin, but it's also very comfortable, and I like doing that every once in a while. But this is like on a regular basis. If you're using scalding hot water, that's going to dry your skin out. And the best way to tell that is if your skin starts to turn pinkish, it gets that flush to it because it's just so hot, then that's going to dry your skin. And obviously, the cooler you can make your shower and the cooler you can withstand it, the better you're gonna be. You don't have to have icy cold water. You don't even have to have lukewarm water while you're in the shower. Just make sure it's not so hot that it's scalding. And if you don't know what the hot water does, so this is also why it's important to think about like the varying levels of heat for your water, because even if you're going just like a little bit lower than hot, that's even better for your skin. But the way to think of it is, this is not very scientific, this is my own analogy, but the way I like to think of it, because I'm kind of a visual person, is that the way that your water in the shower is evaporating and turning into all of that steam, it's doing something similar to the water in your skin cells. It's displacing that water from your skin cells, so you're actually losing water. It's kind of like speeding up transepidermal water loss, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to get rid of too much moisture from your skin cells. You want to make sure you're retaining that water. Another one of the mistakes that I see happen all the time is putting your moisturizer on dry skin. And you guys have probably heard me talk about this one too. You should always apply your skincare products onto damp skin because they work better. They are locking in that hydration, and they're also just absorbing better into your skin. And that goes for your moisturizer too. It will work better and lock in that hydration if you apply it to damp skin. And I do not mean wet skin, because I have seen people use my words, they take my words and then they translate it to having sopping wet skin. You need to just have damp skin, and then you apply your moisturizer on top of that, including your hydrating serums too. You want to go hydrating serums, treatment serums, all of that, and then put your moisturizer on while your skin is damp. And that can mean damp skin from the last product that you just put on. You just want to make sure that you're not getting dry skin. You don't want your skin to be dry. The only exception to that is when you are using really strong actives like your retinoids or, you know, like your AHAs or something. And that's only if you don't want them to be really strong. Like maybe if you're adjusting your skin to them. I apply all of my retinoids and all of my AHAs on top of damp skin at this point, and that's because I have gotten to that level. I have leveled up. But if you're adjusting, you definitely don't want to apply those strong actives to damp skin because, again, they work harder for you. And then the last mistake that I see people sometimes make is confusing dry skin with dehydrated skin. And the biggest difference is that dry skin lacks oil and dehydrated skin lacks that water. And you can also be a combination of those two skin types. So I have a whole entire video on that because I do think it's a bigger topic. So I'll link that in the description box if you want to watch that video to figure out what type of skin issues you're dealing with. Again, if you have dry skin, make sure to pick up the Skin Fix Triple Lipid Peptide Cream. It's one of the best out there. It is amazing for dry skin and replacing those lipids that you're losing because you have dry skin. And it's a great time to pick it up because it's available right now during the Sephora Spring Savings event. You can get anywhere between 10 to 20% off. Again, it just depends on the tier that you're at in the Beauty Insider program. So make sure to check out the description box for all the information. If you have any questions, tell me in the comments below. Tell me what you're picking up during the Sephora Spring Savings event. I always want to know what you guys are buying. Find me on Instagram. I'm at Susan Yara, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.